now what we're going to do is we're going to make a chisel. Kind of funny. I don't think I have any more fall-off rebar stock. I like using rebar. It's cheap. It makes a decent tool that'll last for a little bit if you take care of it. And when it stops lasting, they're super easy to clean up. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we're going to measure out our 11 inches. The same length that we made everything else. And then we're going to mark it. And then we're going to take that mark and we're going to draw it out as straight as we can along the rest of the anvil. That way it doesn't matter where we are, we have a reference. Of course, we'll kind of have to know just a little bit where that mark is. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to mark it with this cold chisel. And mandrels are basically, yeah, look at that. Now I don't need that line. Mandrels are the same thing. I'm talking about mandrels as in like what you use to widen it out for an axe handle or they're just like a really, really, really big drift. And I don't think that I actually have enough time to make one for the camera because I've been going on for a little while and I'm afraid that the camera might be losing battery power as we speak. But if I can find it here. Here we are. The one tough thing about a mandrel is that the taper has to run the entire length of the piece, which can make it kind of interesting. And you generally want it to be long. So this would be an example. This one, would you look at that, is only 11.5 inches. It's about as long as one of my drifts. It wouldn't be uncommon for this thing to be 16 or 17 inches, maybe 18, depending on how big around it is. But this is only made out of 1-inch stock, but it's tapered from here all the way up to here, which leaves you enough room to grab it with a pair of tongs here and still clean up your piece on top of it if you need to. Here's another one that I made for some hammers, for making the head of hammers, and the idea with this one is I should be able to go big enough to actually create a sledge, which would be awesome. But that one is 12.25 inches. And again, that could be, like even longer and be even wider. But basically that's your mandrel. And you decide where you're going to start narrowing it out, and then you taper it from as thick as it is all the way down to a point. And depending on what you want, this is a little bit sharp. This has been used as a punch a couple times, and so that's the reason that this piece is upset. Wasn't too careful with it, didn't clean it up. But basically, and you can kind of see, like on this one, I did the same thing. I like to do that with these types of tools that I make with round stock. But that's a mandrel, and it's time consuming more than anything. Now that doesn't cover these different shapes of mandrels, but that's two shapes. And this mandrel is not exactly square. This mandrel is wider this way than it is this way. It's actually kind of thinner this way and wider this way. So kind of, and I did that because I didn't want a perfectly square hammerhead hole. Either way, it'll work good. The only thing that's required for a hammer handle is that the hole be oval or square so that the handle can't twist inside the head. That would kind of suck. Like swinging your hammer, and all of a sudden the head turns like a half a turn. That wouldn't be good at all. It doesn't matter so much with wooden mallets because they glue it in, but it's just kind of better with one of these types of hammers to have a squarish hole. Of course, with as aggressive as that mandrel is, as that drift mandrel, whatever, is, you don't want to be hammering on the metal once it starts to turn cold. You see any black at all, and you pull that thing out and stick it back. And I was wrong. That thing has been used as a drift a couple times. But the reason that it's flattened like that, the way it is because I actually got it stuck in the hole of one of the things that I was working on, and I had to turn it over the hardy hole or the vise and beat it out. That goes in the ash bucket, and this becomes the base. Beautiful. And here's where we are with that.